Okay. All right, a little technical difficulty there. All right, welcome back to Hunt a Killer, Blair Witch, episode 5. Last time when we left off, we had basically, the big puzzle of episode 4 was looking at the giant map of Burkittsville and the surrounding area, the Black Hills Forest, all that sort of stuff. Trying to deduce where this mysterious figure, Carver, was taking Rosemary's 2 children. He had a spot picked out somewhere in the woods, and we cracked the code, which to me, I think we cracked the code thanks to some hints from Carver, which usually means that he wants you to figure out where he's going, because it's a trap. So, regardless, we did crack the code, and Rosemary herself went off into the woods to try and rescue her 2 children. We will see then what exactly happened, because obviously we have another package here, so either someone else sent it or I don't know. Alright, I think we could say someone else sent it because the items listed for the package include a letter from Anthony, the director of the History Museum, Rosemary's journal pages, tree rubbings, Henry's note, logging company personnel files, shutdown report, a beanie, and a cigarette case. Really? A beanie? Like a hat? Is there a hat? Is there a hat in this package? There is certainly a hat in this package. Ooh, wow, that cigarette case. I was not expecting that. Here is our hat. This is like a fucking Bucks hat. Hold on. This is if you would have just shown that to me randomly, I would have said that's an NBA Bucks hat. What does their logo look like? Hold on. Okay. Theirs is like, I don't well, maybe, you know, said like old logo or something. It's different. It's obviously different. Of course it's different. Yeah, okay. Their logo has always been like straight on, just almost more of like a silhouette or something of a deer with antlers. This is, you know, obviously a little different, but I wouldn't have known better. I would have said, oh, nice Bucks hat. Obviously I see it around, you know, Wisconsin quite a bit, but there you go. You could wear it and say it's a Bucks hat, and I'm sure I would fool some people. Should I put it on? Should I wear it? All right, that's gonna get way too hot after a while, but sure. Then we have a cigarette case. I'll show it to you in a second. Hold on. This is kind of nice. I kind of want to start smoking cigarettes now. There you go. It says Nathaniel's Cigarettes Original, established December 27, 1902. Put your faith in Nathan. On the back it says, Nathan Cigarettes is a proud family-owned and family-friendly company. Nathaniel and Sophia Herman, alongside their children Una, Julian and Mary are committed to rolling the freshest and most delectable cigarettes. We kindly invite you to kick back, light up, and join the Herman family. And there's some numbers there, which may or may not be relevant, but look at this little cigarette case. It's got a button. Pops open. There you go. You could put all your delicious cigarettes in there. And there's a paper. There's a paper in here. Oh yeah, this is a note. Okay, it's a note. We'll get to it in a second, I'm sure. Let's go over the rest. But I like this cigarette case. I don't know, really. It's just like a gift. It's like part of the $30 you pay. You just get a nice cigarette case. I don't know what I would put in here that's not cigarettes. Kit Kat? Maybe you could put Kit Kats in here. Seems like a good size. You could put a couple Kit Kats in there. All right. All right, so we have the letter from Anthony. Nice and lengthy. There you go. We've got another note. No, 2 notes, 3 notes. All right, I assume these are Rosemary's journal pages. We've got the tree rubbings. Oh, tree rubbings. And then we have, oh man, this is... Okay. We've got plenty to read today, ladies and gents. Some thick reports, personnel files, incident reports, all sorts of goodies. It's like the thickest document so far. All right, as usual, let's start with the letter from the sender of the package. This time, Anthony from the History Museum. Investigator. Hello. I'm just now realizing that I've never properly introduced myself to you. I'm Anthony Rapinoe, and I'm a friend of the Kent family. I need your help. Or, more accurately, Rosemary needs your help. When Rosemary left, she promised me she'd only be in the woods for a single night, as though that would be any comfort to me at all. Nevertheless, it's been far longer than that, and she still hasn't returned. I've spent the past day practically turning her place upside down looking for your contact info, which I eventually discovered once I figured out the password to her laptop. Don't worry, I wasn't trespassing. After Liam disappeared, Rosemary gave me a key to her house so that I could show myself in from time to time, usually just to check in on her and sometimes to help out with the cooking and cleaning when dealing with the investigation got to be too much for her. Speaking of investigations, Sheriff Lanning isn't even returning my calls anymore. Over the course of the past year, an entire family has disappeared on his watch, and he just seems to want to be able to move on from it. I've been searching through the forest alone every day, and I've managed to find a number of notes that seem to have come from Rosemary, alongside a number of items and files that simply shouldn't exist. As if that wasn't already strange enough, in some of the papers I found, Rosemary describes hiding in an abandoned lumber mill. There used to be a lumber mill in the woods, but it was abandoned in the 1950s and demolished over a decade ago. On top of all these eerie circumstances, it appears as though someone or something has been interfering with Rosemary's personal website. There are new posts being made on a regular basis. I can't even tell if Rosemary has somehow managed to connect to the internet out there, or if it's not her at all, because the text itself appears to be so corrupted. Whenever I try to make it out, my vision goes blurry, and I'm overwhelmed with such a profound sense of dread that I reflexively slam my laptop shut. Maybe I'll have better luck making sense of the site. What I have been able to make out from her notes, although it doesn't quite make sense to me, is that Rosemary seems to have written about needing to find a 5-digit code in order to progress on her journey through the woods. It's getting a little, a little forced, but alright. The best, and perhaps the only thing that we can do for her right now is to find that code and send it to her. I know that it's a long shot, and that it's crazy to ask you to help with any of this at this point. But I'm used to being the crazy one, and if I were to hazard a guess, I'd say that you must be getting used to it too. Maybe Rosemary will still be able to receive information through the tip line at kentcase.com. I have to believe she will be, because it's our only hope at this point. Whatever's happening out there, Rosemary's in imminent danger. There's no time to waste. Please help me see her through this. Anthony. Alright, little forced, but we can help out. All right, so the note from the cigarette case. I can hear those things at night, slinking around, scratching up against the walls, moaning like dying men. They want us to know that the only thing keeping them out is the light. If anything ever happens to the breaker room, if the power ever goes out, then that's it. We lose the only thing that keeps them away at night. And then they'll get us, just like they got James. They called it an accident in the official report, but we all know that it isn't true. I can hear their screams when I'm out there. The people who have died, and who are dying, and who haven't died yet, and who will never die. Ripples through time, stuck in place, like the rings of a tree. James is one of them now. Maybe he always has been. Everything's all mixed up. Even my brain. I can't remember my life before I walked into this forest. I can't remember the faces of my brother and sister, and I can barely tell when I'm awake or when I'm dreaming anymore. The fear is too much, the sound of their scratching at the window panes and her whispering in my ear. But all that matters is that I remember the 5 numbers. As long as I follow 5 steps, I'll always be able to reach the light. Alright, then there's 5 sentences, numbered. And the text seems to be jumbled. I would imagine this is just like each word is just sort of jumbled up. Yeah, that's what it looks like. The trees that bleed like something men. Wounded men. The trees that bleed like wounded men. There you go. Adam. Adam lost. No, that can't be it. It has a capital A. I assume that's the first letter, but mad doesn't sound right. UHCM. Much as the... Oh, boy. Clock. When he... Bleep. No. We might need one of those, word jumble solver or something? Jumble solver? Okay. Let's see here. I'll put this in, although it's gotta be... It has to be Adam. I mean, there's no 4-letter word that has that. So there must be an Adam figure that we haven't read about yet. Okay, let me bring up Notepad so we can just keep track of these sentences. All right, first one is the trees that bleed like wounded men. 2, Adam lost... No, that can't... That's not even... Oh yeah, much. Adam lost as much as the... Okay. I'm not really good at word jumble things, so that's why we're just using a solver. Stopped. All right. Much as the stopped clock when he fell asleep. I got that. All right, good. Trees. Ooh, that's a word. That's a word and a half. PHERSGTN is strength. All right. 3 strength in numbers. The hammer, no. An N. N-A-H, ramen? Ramen? No. Herman. The Herman. The Herman? The Herman? Doesn't sound right. The Herman. Family. Oh, the Herman family. All right, well, now it makes sense. See? Nope. Needs. Yep. To be together. Yep. To glit, is that a word? Probably not. Light. Needs to be together to light the way. All right, good. All the fires he lit to keep them away. 1 week before the... Oh boy. Duolona. It's either download or woodland. Probably woodland. 1 week before the woodland was... found it. There we go. Okay. So, 1 is the trees that bleed like wounded men. 2 is Adam lost as much as the stopped clock when he fell asleep. 3 is 3's strength in numbers. The Herman family needs to be together to light the way. 4 is all the fires he lit to keep them away. 5 is 1 week before the woodland was founded. I don't know. These are words. Okay, let's go with Rosemary's journal pages here. No sign of my boys, or of Carver. Not yet. It's been slow going in the dark, but I must have traveled at least a few miles north. In the morning, I'll head deeper. For now, Tank and I have made camp. If Hud could see me struggle to set up his old tent, I'd never hear the end of it. Tank is in his element out here. It always surprises me how quickly he takes to these woods. Never had a dog before that didn't overreact every creak in the distance. He almost seems like he's keeping watch for me. Even when I'm not holding his leash, he just sticks by my side. It started around 3 a.m. Distant first. Voices. Whispering. They sounded so young. I thought of Tristan. But none of the voices were his. How many children are out here? I tried to call out to them, but it came out as a croak. My voice felt trapped far back in my throat. When I was finally able to ask who was there, the voices didn't answer. Maybe they couldn't hear me. They sounded so close, though, like they were just outside my tent. When I unzipped the tent, the whispering faded to silence. I shined my flashlight out, but there was nothing. That's when I noticed Tank was sitting alert. He's usually such a deep sleeper, but he must have heard something too. I only just managed to get him calmed down. Going to try to sleep a little more and leave at sunrise. Just woke up and went outside to find Liam's hat placed neatly by front of the entrance to my tent. Even though I know with total certainty that it's just Carver mocking me, I'm still holding on to it like a totem. I can feel my blood boiling inside of me. Don't know how much sleep I've gotten because the sun still hasn't come up. The clock on my phone must be wrong. It says it's 1 in the afternoon. Doesn't make any sense. Either way, I don't want to sleep anymore. Time to get moving. Really, why would they send me this hat? Why would they send me the kid's hat? I'm not like a police department. I don't need to log every piece of evidence. Okay. I think this is the next one. He's trying to scare me. After I packed up camp, Tank and I walked for hours and hours. The deeper we walked into the woods, the less I could see the sky through the canopy of leaves above me. I couldn't even hear the wind. That's when we found a clearing surrounded by tall, thin trees whose trunks were engraved like headstones. I didn't understand what all the carvings on them said, but the messages on a few of those trees couldn't be clearer. I took some rubbings of the carvings just to prove to myself that I wasn't seeing things. It's a good thing that I did, because they disappeared the moment I looked away from them. I think he's trying to make me turn back. It's not going to happen. What would I be going back to? There's nothing there. Not anymore. Tank is exhausted. We're stopping more for his benefit than mine, though I admit it's getting to me. First Hudson, then Liam and Tristan. All my boys. Gone. When I get our sons back, I'll never take my eyes off them again, Hud. I promise. Just a little farther. I know it. The voices are back. They sound closer. The sun isn't going to rise again. I thought it was almost dawn again. I was wrong. It's just dark now. It's just dark. Something just tried to get in. I woke up to the sound of Tank barking and realized that something was dragging against the tent, scraping against the plastic. I kicked at it, but I just felt air where my boot should have connected with flesh. It stopped. It stopped the scratching, though. Sometimes I can see my phone catch a signal for a moment, like the outside world is reaching in to pull me back, but inevitably the bars disappear and the outside world is pushed away again. By the woods, by him, or by her. Okay, I think this is next. They don't number this, obviously, so I just have to guess. Whoever or whatever he is, I don't care. I can't do this anymore. It's like my mind is playing tricks on me. I think something is out here with me, something besides Carver, watching me. It's coming closer day by day. I can hear it breathing. I don't know what it's waiting for. There are times when I see a light through the trees, flickering. Fire. Each time I've run toward it, hoping it was Carver's campfire. I lower my head and bolt, but the light always burns out just before I can reach it, like a cruel joke. The only light I ever see besides my own flashlight. There's no more sun anymore. No more daytime. Can't do this. No, that's enough feeling sorry for myself. I'd better get moving. Hank started growling at a bush, and when I pointed my flashlight, I saw a pale white hand with only 2 fingers covered in blood. It looked like the hand of a drowned person, like something that hasn't seen sunlight in years. As soon as the beam of my flashlight hit that hand, it flinched away as it made this terrible groaning noise, like an angry animal and a wounded man at the same time. I ran in the opposite direction, and Tank followed. That's when I found this building. It looks abandoned. I'm hunkered down in the entryway for now. The door won't open, but I think there's a window I might be able to get through. Well, I got Tank and myself in, but I managed to cut my leg on a piece of glass that was sticking out of the window pane in the process. Thankfully, I was smart enough to bring a first aid kit. The bleeding hasn't completely stopped yet, and it hurts like hell, but I think it might be okay. I think I'll be able to walk on it. I'm gonna try to explore a little in a few minutes. It looks like this place used to be a logging company. There's an axe embedded on the wall, and most of the furniture has been flipped. Scorch marks on the walls and floors. I found records amongst all the carnage. They paint a pretty vivid picture of what happened here before all of this. I suppose the woods retook this place after it was abandoned, although I do feel relatively safe in here compared to outside. but I'm going to need to move on soon. No time to waste. I managed to limp up the half-rotten stairs to the rooftop to try to get the lay of the land. At first, I saw nothing on the horizon but trees, but then I noticed it. The light again. The flickering light of a campfire. I know where I have to go from here. Toward that fire. If Tristan and Liam aren't there, they aren't anywhere. I noticed something else on that rooftop, though. It was the groaning sound of that creature somewhere on the building's perimeter. And then there was the sound of another, and another. I think the building is surrounded. The only way forward is going to be through them. They're scratching at the front door and at the windows, and it's making Tank go absolutely ballistic. My leg hurts. God, I wish I had a cigarette right now. They hate the light. The hand that I saw in the woods, and now these things outside. When I shine my flashlight in an area where they're scratching, they all back away from the light, and even Tank calms down a little, like he senses they're a little farther away. I saw a mention of a breaker room in some of the reports, so I tracked it down. If I can manage to get inside, I'm going to flood this place with light. It might clear enough of a path for me to run straight to Carver's campfire. Thing is, the door has been outfitted with a hefty combination lock. Nothing can ever be easy, can it? To add insult to injury, I thought I'd managed to find a pack of cigarettes right outside the breaker room, but the second I picked it up, I could tell it was empty. 5 digits. With any luck, it's hidden around here somewhere. I'd better get start. The writing trails off. Alright. Interesting. Let's look at the tree rubbing that she took. Okay. We've got a bunch more of the encrypted text. And then in English it says, "You're too foolish to accept fate. Your children have your husband." Oh, "You're too foolish to accept fate. Your children have, your husband has, now it is your turn." Okay. And let's go with, I'm just gonna go to the Hunt to Killer website. Not to translate it, but they have the whole code. I don't want to pull out my piece of paper when they have like an official one. Just easier. Let's see here. Password. LST20. There it is. There's a lot of text here, man. It's annoying. Okay. Let me set this up. Why? Oh God, this will take forever. All right, screw it. What's the point of that? What's the point of that? We know the code. That's just busy work. So I'm just gonna fucking I'm just gonna read the thing. I assume they have it. Okay, here it is. Look at that. I mean, it's just so much easier. "You pretend to be so strong, but I see the pathetic way you tremble when you think you're alone. You will not win. She is the only one who ever wins in the woods. There is nobody left for you. Nobody and nothing. It's time to let go. Welcome home." It's interesting. There's like... okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's fine. Alright, so that's... Yeah, I don't even know if there's any clues there, so... Like a live SCP exploration video? Sort of. If the SCP is the Blair Witch. And usually, you know, SCP stuff doesn't involve reading and, you know, cracking codes and figuring out clues, but yeah. Alright, so next we have the lumber company. This is a report on the working conditions of the timber company. So this was written in 1956. Anthony said that this company was, or this plant, this lumber mill was abandoned in the 50s and was demolished like 10 years ago. So obviously Blair Witch, there's some time fuckery going on. But she found these reports and now we have them, so explain that shit. I was initially called in by the state of Maryland to perform an incident analysis in the case of a worker's death at the Creekside Timber Company's Black Hills Forest facility. During my inspection, I noted concrete, widespread evidence of failure to observe basic security protocols, unsafe working conditions throughout the facility, and a pattern of wildly inappropriate behavior from nearly all of the site's employees. I have also noted some sort of hysteria affecting the workers, the psychological effects of which seem to predate the death of James Berman. Really thick paper. Inspection of wood chipper. I focused much of my initial inspection on the wood chipper involved in the Creekside employee's death. A thorough examination revealed nothing faulty with the machine itself. However, during my inspection, I discovered no fewer than 7 children's handprints upon the lower third of the machine's outer body. Foreman John Martell claimed to have no knowledge of any children's presence, and further claimed that the machine had not been touched since the accident. I find myself dubious of this claim on both fronts, as the handprints appeared to be fresh. Whatever substance they were made from was wet, viscous, and warm to the touch. The discovery of these handprints prompted me to search the entire facility for further evidence of the presence of children. I soon came to observe additional handprints inside the break room, foreman's office, 2 bathrooms, and most perplexingly of all, on the ceiling directly above a secretary's desk. It was at this point in my inspection when, as I looked up at the handprint on the ceiling, a rusted light fixture very nearly fell upon my head. Had I been standing 3 feet to the left, I would have sustained a grave injury. Although the handprints covered the facility, no further evidence of the presence of children turned up during my inspection. However, the evidence of the presence of minors on the premise is irrefutable and damning. To allow young children on the premises at all, let alone near such a dangerous piece of machinery, is an unconscionable oversight on the part of Creekside management. Observations of psychological effects upon employees. During my inspection of Creekside Timber Company, I also observed significant and alarming abnormalities in the behaviors of its employees. On my tour with Foreman John Martell, I heard multiple workers whisper things to the effect of me not belonging there. That I could at least understand. Being in a small town, and with the recent accident, I represented the possibility of a shutdown, and therefore a lost paycheck. But some of those remarks moved beyond simple hostility and into the nonsensical and unnerving. I heard one man say that I should stand in the corner, and another that I would listen when she tells me to leave. I have also repeatedly observed workers behaving negligently. Multiple men appeared to be staring off into the woods while operating dangerous machinery such as wood chippers and saws, and while swinging axes. When I approached to reprimand them for their actions, these workers all responded with slight confusion, followed by disbelief and denial that they had indeed been staring into the distance at all. I also observed one worker counting his own 10 fingers. He did this multiple times. He would seem satisfied with his number and then count again. When I asked him what he was doing, he seemed to snap out of a stupor and said, in all seriousness, just wanted to make sure it was all still there. Many of the men I spoke to over the course of my inspection seemed to have bought into a superstition about rocks of all things. They claimed to fear the appearance of small piles of stones as omens of death and injury. I happened to find one such pile just outside my own automobile as I was finishing my inspection. There were no signs of damage, simply piles of rocks outside my door, on my hood, and on my roof. I can only assume that this was a pathetic attempt at a practical joke by a disgruntled employee. Additionally, nearly everyone on the company's payroll reports missing time, of which there is seemingly some evidence. Mr. Martell showed me employee complaints with time discrepancies no one could understand. The time shown on the cards did not match what employees reported, nor the amount of work they were supposed to have completed in that time. Others have worked for what feels to be an entire day, but returned with no more timber than they chop in an hour. Men shown clocking in for only an hour claim to have worked their entire shifts, and have returned with a day's worth of wood. When I asked Mr. Martell if this discrepancy could be the result of human error, or if he could have found himself the butt of a practical joke, he said he trusted his men implicitly. An inspection of the timekeeping machine also proved it to be in perfect working order. Presence of unknown, possibly toxic substance. Found at the Creekside Timber Company was what many of the men have referred to as strange slime leaking from the trees. I interviewed the man who, weeks before Berman's death, first discovered the substance, a logger named Adam Barrett. He described an incident in which he and coworker Simon Donner came across trees that were, to use his word, bleeding. By his account, 8 separate trees in the same vicinity discharged this substance in place of sap. Barrett and Donner then marked any affected trees with red X's. The men could not replicate this phenomena for me. They brought me to the allegedly affected trees, and observing the proper safety protocol, proceeded to peel back the initial layer of bark, only to find regular sap. I watched them cut into every marked tree, only to find nothing out of the ordinary. The men did, however, claim to have kept some of this dark mucus-like material in a jar and produced it from the safe in the foreman's office. The loggers all insisted it came from one of the trees they attempted to cut down, but to me it smelled like little more than scorched engine oil. Conclusion. For the reasons herein compiled, it is my conclusion that the Creekside Timber Company should immediately cease all present and future operations at their Black Hills Forest facility until such time that a more thorough analysis of both the building and employees can be completed and a safe reopening can be confirmed. I will be sending copies of my recommendations to all pertinent state officials, as well as to the company itself. Alright. Well, there's something useful in there. We'll suss it out, don't worry. But final thing to read, and it's a doozy, man. Kick back and settle in. This is the incident reports at the timber company. There's a whole bunch of them. All right. Number 1. Category: violence. Filer: John Martell. Date: May 4th, 1956. Loggers Daniel Calder and Edward McCune engaged in a vicious fistfight today during their lunch break. I can recount what I saw of the fight: that Mr. Calder stormed into the lunchroom and, seemingly unprovoked, attacked Mr. McCune. The fight quickly escalated, and the onlookers certainly did not help. We have had fights here before, but this particular altercation was remarkably vicious, with both men sustaining severe bruising, multiple cuts, and several deep bite marks. Mr. Calder also appears to have cracked a rib and lost 4 of his teeth. As I was pulling the 2 men apart, I could hear Mr. Calder shouting at Mr. McCune that he needed to stop talking about the children, that she could hear everything that he said, and that he didn't want to draw her attention. Both men were sent home to cool off, and their pay has been docked for the day. When do we get a Mangg Plays Guitar serenade? When I learned guitar. So basically, when we enter the Matrix and I can just download guitar playing ability, that's when that'll happen. All right, number 2, category: trespassing. Filer: Henry Kent. May 16th, 1956. I noticed evidence of trespassing in the logging area while doing normal rounds just before sundown. I investigated a series of scuffling noises that began inside the mill and moved outdoors. I pointed my flashlight into the woods, and though I could see nothing with its beam, the noises continued. What began as a low rustling I might have mistaken for raccoons, to me seemed to change into something resembling muffled voices. Taking one of the high-powered equipment lights in an attempt to frighten off any potential trespassers, I shone it in the direction of the North Hill, where I caught temporary sight of the intruder. I glimpsed the intruder for a moment and saw only a large, pale person. At the distance I saw him, I couldn't tell if he was wearing tight, skin-toned clothing or if he was nude. Yeah, I wonder which one is more likely. He was, however, moving incredibly fast at the crest of the North Hill. The being ran over the hill and further into the woods. Alright. Number 3. Category, Vandalism to Company Property. Filer, John Martell, date June 18, 1956. Amelia Hooper came running into the mill from her lunch break, which she'd taken in town, and reported to me that someone had vandalized every single car in the mill's parking lot. I followed her out into the lot and found that she was right. Every single car and truck in the lot was covered bumper to bumper in dents the size of baseballs, and there was glass all over the gravel. And around every car were small stones. It's conceivable that someone could have wound up a good pitch and dented metal with rocks of those sizes, but who could it have been, and when? Even with all the machinery going, someone would have noticed. There are always men working near the front of the building, which is filled with windows. I even found a few who said they were right there before Amelia came in and they didn't see or hear a thing. Strangely, though, there was one pile of rocks that had been stacked perfectly right in front of James Berman's car. What a thing. Alright. Number 4. Category, Witness Report. Filer, John Martell, date June 18, 1956. Dictated from the verbal testament of Edward Daniels. Thanks for taking this down, Mr. Martell. I don't know if I could. So anyway, James was there, right next to Henry Kent, when it happened. He looked kind of shell-shocked, James. I don't know if anything brought it on. I just happened to be carrying another axe down to Adam. I saw James out of the corner of my eye just standing there. I didn't know what he was up to, if something was happening, but he looked off into the woods. It seemed like he was listening to something. I saw him do this little nod, and then James just jammed his right arm straight into the chipper and kept pressing it in. He just kept pressing it further and further down, even when a few of the men grabbed onto him and tried to pull him away. He'd mangled his arm almost up to the shoulder by the time someone had the wherewithal to switch the damn thing off. We tried to help stop the bleeding, but he just kept struggling and yelling something about doing what's asked of him. He bled out just before the ambulance arrived. It happened at 3 o'clock on the dot. Did you notice? Look at your watch. Every clock in this place stopped working the second his hand hit those blades. Whew. Ooh. Alright. Interesting. Number 5. Category, Employee Health. Filer, John Martell, date June 25th, 1956. Dictated from the verbal testament of Adam Barrett. I've been having dreams about James's death almost every single night since it happened. Dreams where I can always hear a man calling for help from somewhere in the forest. Maybe it's James. I can always hear him screaming, and even though I can't see him, I somehow know in my heart that he's trapped underneath a gigantic white tree. Sometimes in these dreams I run into the forest to find him, but no matter which direction I go, I never can. And whenever I wake up from one of these dreams, I always find leaves and sticks in my bed, like I've been sleepwalking. Except my feet are never dirty. And listen, I know that this might seem like something I shouldn't be coming to you about, John, but we've worked together for nearly 10 years, and I need someone to know that lately I haven't been hearing the screaming in my dreams at night. I haven't just been hearing the screaming in my dreams at night. I've been hearing it in the distance whenever I go out in the woods. None of the other men can hear them. Nobody will go out to look for where they're coming from with me, and there's no way in hell I'm going out there alone. So I've just been going about my work, day after day, trying to ignore the screaming. I've got to tell you, I'm nearly at the end of my rope. It's not just the screaming. I've been seeing body parts everywhere over the past few weeks, and nobody else can see them. Severed arms lying on the ground when I'm outside. Seared fingers floating in my coffee. Sometimes I look down to see my own hands falling off as though they're gangrenous, and then I blink and they're fine again. Last night I dreamed that my right thumb, forefinger, and middle finger were collected by a creature that was as pale as a corpse. I thought that it might have been James, since it was wearing his clothes, but I couldn't tell for sure because its face had rotted off. The other boys are dreaming about things like that too. They don't say it out loud, but I can tell from how quickly they change the subject when I try to tell them about my own dreams. Maybe they're seeing things during the day too, and they just won't admit it. I can't be the only one losing my mind around here. Alright. This is, number 6, or... I don't know, I lost count. Probably 6, this is the last one. Category, reprimand. Filer, John Martell. Date, July 2nd, 1956. Edward McCune was discovered in the late evening setting fire to various areas of the lumber mill. I had forgotten something at the mill, and when I entered the building I discovered McCune pouring gasoline onto a table and holding a lighter. I moved to confiscate both the gasoline and the lighter immediately, and he did not resist. I started pressing him about his actions, and he just calmly asked me to help him. He said he was doing his part to keep the boys safe, and that he was almost finished, but that he had one more fire to set before the building was safe. I realized the implication of his statement and immediately began to run through the building. When I found and began stomping out the first fire, which was thankfully relatively small, McCune became angry. He tried to physically prevent me from extinguishing the flames, and then, when it became clear that I could overpower him, he tried to beg me to leave the fires burning instead. At that point, I decked him square across the face and he passed out. I left him on the ground and continued to check the building for fires. All in all, I managed to find and put out 4 separate fires in total. Once I was sure the building was safe, I found McCune again. He was right where I had left him, though he had regained consciousness. He seemed unfazed, even offered to provide an explanation for his activities. "It's not safe out there in the dark, Johnny. I was just making it okay so the boys could go to work in the morning. You know, if we let it stay dark in here too long, they're gonna creep in." When I asked him specifically what it was he was trying to prevent, he seemed unable to put it into words. He was only able to tell me it was something related to the woods. It practically goes without saying, but I of course terminated McCune's employment and reported him to the police for arson. Alrighty. So, we are trying to figure out the 5 digits for this combination lock. And we have the 5 clues, and we have all the data, we have all the info, we just got to put it together. So first is the trees that bleed like wounded men, which I think was 8. Which I think was from the working condition report. When he went out to look at the bleeding trees, he said there were 8. 8 separate trees. Alright, so the first number is 8. Second, Adam lost as much as the stopped clock when he fell asleep. I want to say 3. I mean, the clock stopped at 3. Oh, and he said he lost 3 fingers. So 3. Alright, third. 3's strength in numbers. The Herman family needs to be together to light the way. The Herman family. The Herman family? Oh. Nathaniel and Sophia Herman, alongside their children Una, Julian, and Mary. So 5. Oh, I think that's their strength in numbers, not 3's strength in number. Alright, so 5. Okay, good. Fourth. All the fires he lit to keep them away. That's 4. And 1 week before the woodland was founded. One week before the woodland was founded. And this is presumably a number 1 through 9. 1 week before the woodland was founded. How would I... What? I mean, that's what the sentence is. There's no doubt about it. 1 week before the woodland was founded. I mean, obviously, we could just try every number, 1 through 9. It's not like that's much work, but it seems lame to not actually know it. I just don't know the woodland. I mean, woodlands aren't founded. Let me just double check, make sure. Make sure that I... That's what it is. It's 1 week before the woodland was founded. That's official. That's what it says officially. What does that... What does that mean? I would assume that it's like second week or something, or, you know, like the third week of a month. But it's still just... I don't even know where to look for the info, because I don't know what it means to found a woodland. Maybe we can get a hint. Hold on. We don't need a reveal. We need a hint. Oh, 1 digit of the 5-digit code is hidden on the beanie. The beanie. Wow. Wow. It's crazy, man. Okay. So now I understand the meaning of it, because this hat is from the South Woodland Academy, established August 9th, 1789. It also has LHK on it, which is Liam something Kent. Cool stuff. So 1 week before the 9th would be the 2nd, so it's a 2, and we are good to go. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's load up the website that we need. Punch in our magic code. Oh. It is certainly all garbled. It is very garbled. Finally have a connection. The hotspot I bought is working, but I don't know for how long. It's connected for seconds at a time, but never long enough for me to send a post. If I don't come back, know that I went out fighting. Give all of my books to Anthony Rapinoe and everything else to my sister. The map was right and the path was sure, but the land is wrong, wrong, wrong. Nothing comes in, nothing goes out, no sun, no service, no salvation, just static and sadness. Where is the sun? Where are the children? Where am I? Who am I? What am I? Please help, please help, please help, please help, please help, please help. And then this is jumbled. We cannot leave. We cannot die. We can only do what she tells us. All right. Another post from their Facebook thing talking about how Rosemary went missing. They found her car parked by the edge of the woods, completely empty. If you ask me, Rosemary started this whole thing. Getting the town worked up and nervous when she's been the one behind it all. Look at the facts. Yeah, I'd bet anything that one of us is next. Anthony posted, Rosemary's still out there in those woods. We can still find her. She has one of the biggest hearts out of all of us. She's always been there for us. We need to be there for her. Disappearances aren't new here. This panic isn't new. This town is a graveyard. Our tombs are marked. It's only a matter of time. Wow. Nice. All right. So, the number we are sending is 83542. And we got it right, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God! It's you! I don't know how you managed to get in touch, but you've got a hell of a sense of timing. Are these what I think they are? How did you even know that I needed this? You know, I'm just going to go with it. Everything in my life is already so goddamn bizarre. You know, I was about to try every possible combination on the lock until I got 100,000 possible combinations. Would have taken me a long time. If what you just sent me is right. Whoa. Okay. Thanks. Let's get these lights on. I'm outside. There was a flash of light, and then it was dark, and now everything is gone, and I'm outside. Tank! Where are you, boy? Tank! Please, come back! I see a light. It's not far. It looks like a campfire. I'm going to get closer to get a better look. There are people around the fire. 3 of them. It has to be my boys. And Carver. I'm going to get them and take them.
Okay. Well, she's dead. I mean, she's gotta be dead. So I assume the next package will come from Anthony again, but what if it comes from Rosemary? What if it's like, what if it's from the Blair Witch that knows our address? It's crazy. Yeah, so another one that wasn't like that complicated. Really, it was just that one that was just in episode 3, it was just nuts. Really nuts. But yeah, it's good. I mean, yeah, again, that only took us like an hour. And the majority of the hour is literally just reading stuff. So it's not like they're really putting together something super elaborate or complicated here, but it's just this nice little thing that I like to do, you know, every few weeks or so. Especially as a Blair Witch fan. I mean, they really get some good Blair Witch atmosphere going on. And now I got this hat. I mean, it's not like no one would ever recognize this as like Blair Witch memorabilia. But I'll probably just wear it around during winter. People will think it's a Bucks hat, but you know, I'll know. And we got the Kit Kat case. Yeah, sweet Kit Kat case. You can just smell the Kit Kats going in there. Alrighty, yeah, so only one episode left. Episode 6 is the finale. I don't know when we'll do that. It hasn't shipped yet for me. But when I get it, we will do it. We'll wrap it all up, and hopefully it's a nice, thrilling conclusion. I mean, it's not going to be a happy conclusion, let's be honest, but thrilling is the best we can hope for. But alright. My name is Mangg. This has been Mangg Plays Hunt a Killer Blair Witch, Episode 5. See you fine folks around.